Okay, there's a little over 24 hours until 2025 begins. And I don't know if you're thinking through New Year's resolutions or anything like that. There's a few people in our church who are planning to read through use the Murray McShane reading calendar for 2025. McShane was a pastor up in Dundee well over 100 years ago, but to help his congregation read through the Bible for themselves, he worked out a reading calendar. It's if you read through it in a year, then there's about 4 chapters to read a day from 4 different parts of the Bible. It starts off in with Genesis 1, Matthew 1, Ezra 1, and Acts 1. And you may think, actually, 4 chapters is a lot to read. And that's fair enough. My dad is using it at half speed, reading 2 chapters a day. My plan is to start off reading 1 chapter in bed before I get up in the morning, another chapter with my children over breakfast, another chapter with the family over dinner, and then another chapter in bed just before we turn the light out. That's the plan. Now, I would like to say it's worth having a plan to read the Bible this year and to read the whole thing. It won't take that long. A little bit every day, you'll be through it in no time. The McShane reading calendar, 4 chapters, but it takes you through the whole Bible in a year and the New Testament and Psalms twice. So that's great, isn't it? So whether you plan to read it in a year or in 2 years, have at it. It may be that you've got a better plan, that there's already something you're using, or there's something else that you're already planning to. If you've got a better plan, do that. If you don't have a better plan, have this plan, but have a plan to read God's words, to get through, and not just, some notes that has one verse and then a page of somebody else's opinion. Read what God has written. Read what God has said. That would be a really good and healthy thing. And one last thing, don't wait until New Year's Day. Can I give a recommendation between now and New Year's Day? Read Psalm 119. Okay, Psalm 119 is the longest chapter in the Bible, but really it's a love letter to God about his words. It's all about why reading it and knowing it is so valuable, what impact that has on your life, how precious it is. And I think that more than any other chapter in the Bible is going to give you a conviction that this is worth doing. There's one famous politician, William Wilberforce, had a flat near Parliament, and he discovered that the length of his walk to Parliament was about how long it took him to recite Psalm 119. He learnt it by heart, and he recited it to himself every day on the way to Parliament. Here is a man who was swimming well against the tide of his generation. He had very unpopular opinions, and the main one was that slavery is evil. Most people in Parliament disagreed with him. Most people thought he was mad to try and do away with it. They even called him virtually treasonous for what they thought it would do to the economy of Britain to no longer deal in human beings across the Atlantic. But he was determined. It took him decades, but he along with others, managed to abolish the transatlantic slave trade. And he did it partly because every day he was reminding himself, he was going over this psalm, reminding himself that God's word is true even when it's unpopular, that God's word is worth basing your life on, because God's wisdom is more precious than gold, and it brings life to you. So be a Wilberforce. Get stuck into God's words. I think so. Have a plan of when you're going to read. If you're going to read in the morning, and if you're not a morning person, you want to plan for that. It means that you probably need a plan as to how to get to bed early enough that you're going to wake up and be able to read in the morning. Or if you're going to pick another time during the day, I think you want to plan where you can just set aside some time. So when is a kind of quiet spot in your day where you're not just pressurized with loads of other things to do? Make a plan as to when you're going to read. It doesn't just happen by accident. So have a plan, but then have a plan about what you're going to do when you miss a day, because inevitably, one day everything goes wrong, and there's an emergency and you can't read, or whatever it is. What are you going to do when you fall behind? And I want to say, with something like this, it's probably if you go more than 2 days behind, you're probably not going to catch up. So I just skip what you've missed and crack on and get stuck into to whatever date it is, whatever you've planned to read it, and hopefully this time next year you'll come to the same bit, and your emergency will happen on a different day, and you'll read it then. But I thoroughly recommend the McShane Reading Calendar. If you're part of our church and you're watching this, there's a bunch of other people in the church who are going to be doing it at the same time. Hopefully we can compare notes, we can share insights. I'm going to try and make some videos about things that we're reading and respond to questions that people have. But get involved, get stuck in. It will do you a lot of good. But whatever your plan for reading this year is, I pray that you'd really digest it, that you would cherish in taking in God's words, that you'd be reading it to know what it says, rather than just to have read it, just to have ticked off that you've got through it in a year, or whatever it is. But Happy New Year. I hope you enjoy Psalm 119, and you really enjoy getting stuck into God's word. God bless, guys. Bye.